Alright guys, we are going to do a patch 6.8 rundown. I haven't looked at it yet, so this is going to be basically just my input on whatever I end up reading. So, okay, let me just mute the music I have going. Alright, so Taric, I guess Taric comes out. The new Taric I think is going to be interesting. I don't know, I haven't seen his ratios at all. So I don't know if his numbers are broken, but I expect him to be broken just because that's generally how stuff operates. He'll end up being broken for a little bit and then he'll get balanced. To my knowledge, one of his abilities, what is it, his W or something? Or is it his R? I don't know. The one that makes, your teammates invulnerable for a short while. I think that's really broken. All in all, I think Taric will be a very interesting support, but I don't want to comment on him too much until I actually see his numbers and everything. Okay, so Echo is a complete monster. Right now, in Korean solo queue at least, if you don't ban Echo, everyone's going to rage, except for the team that gets him. He's literally probably the only champion in the game right now that can straight up 1v5. And that's a very disgusting thing. So anyways, W and E base damage down, but AP scaling increased. So okay, parallel convergence, passive on hit, 5% of the target's missing health, 3% of the target's missing health. That's not enough. I mean, it is kind of big, but if you figure some of the targets that he's going to be hitting, I mean, this is really going to only apply against tanks, but in tanks, this is something that I talk about a lot. A lot of the damage that ends up happening, you don't really need to factor in how many rotations you're going to kill a tank with. And that's primarily because your fights with tanks are generally going to be extended and they're going to be inside of team fights. So this, when I read this nerf, I think about Echo going on to supports or going on to 80 carries, in which case the damage is probably going to be negligible considering that he overkills them anyway. So there's that. Passive on-hit ratio, 1% per 50 ability power, 1% per 33 ability power. Again, this isn't going to do anything because it's basically negligible. Now deals a minimum of 15 damage to minions and monsters. So that's not bad. E, phase drive. Base damage gets nerfed to 40, 65, 90, 115, 140. That's pretty big. Ratio 0.2 to 0.4. What I think that's doing though is echoes that do get Dark Seal, because currently not every single echo gets Dark Seal, or if echoes incorporate like say like an Abyssal Scepter, or for some reason if they start building Roa, it's basically going to make them deal roughly the same damage they were doing before. The Dark Seal isn't necessarily even an alteration to the Echo builds that are happening. It's just sometimes they get the Dark Seal and other times they don't. So all in all, I don't think that they did nearly enough to Echo, and I still think he's a disgusting monstrosity that just should not exist. And I don't think that these nerfs are proper enough to shut him down. I don't think Riot is heading in the right direction with these nerfs, if I'm trying to be polite about it. I think that one thing that you could do is you could probably lower the movement speed boost that he gets off the 3-hit passive, or you could nerf the range from his leap, like on his phase drive, I guess. Or maybe you could add animations to his Q to make it laggier or anything like that. Just he's too mobile right now, and this is basically pitiful damage nerfs. And again, like I was talking about, it's not even really a nerf in most cases. Obviously, to the echoes that got Dark Seal before, yes, it's just not good enough. So Galio, okay, so this is interesting. E costs less and gives more movement speed. So now the cost is 60, 65, 70, 75, 80. That's completely negligible considering the items that Galio used to get. Although, with the coming changes into 6.9, which I don't want to talk about until there's like more information on them, or until there's a 6.9 patch note, maybe that'll be different. But for right now, considering how Galio itemizes, this is the mana is basically irrelevant. I mean, maybe it helps him out a little bit in laning phase, but the reason that he doesn't get picked inside of lanes is hardly because of something like this. The movement speed bonus, 20 to 30, 35. That's kind of okay. It helps out, I guess, his teleports, and it helps out his skirmishing in like 2v2s and 3v3s, but for the most part, having it nerfed at the very end just doesn't really make any sense. I don't see that this is going to somehow make Galio viable, especially considering that a lot of the laners right now, he doesn't have any good matchups against in mid or in top, so that doesn't make any sense. So Graves, basic attacks deal less damage, but crits are more valuable. Passive New Destiny, ratio on hit 0.5 to 1.1, change to 0.7 to 1.0. Levels 1 through 18. Bullets on crit 8 to 6. Critical thinking. Each bullet. Oh, okay. So, I mean, this nerfs the whatchamacallit Graves. This nerfs the cheesy Graves that was popping up in top and mid. I saw it a lot in Korea. I don't know how common it was on NA or Europe or Oceania or any of the wildcard regions. But there was a lot of Graves that would go Death Dance, Bloodthirster. And I guess this helps against those, but Graves that still build crit chance, I guess this isn't so good against. And I'm really curious still if 80 carry Graves is going to start popping up, because it's been popping up a lot in Korean solo queue. Maybe like 1 every 10 games or like 15 games you'll see it. But the fact that it's not the same person doing it every time means that it is starting to pick up, which is sort of like Tristana was, 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago on Korea, and now she's picking up a lot again. And that's just kind of how it goes. Kog'Maw. Q shred up at early levels, W damage down. Okay, armor, MR shred 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, so scripters can kill you sooner. W base on hit damage. That's kind of, well, okay. Well, I guess it kind of balances itself out at early levels, but this doesn't really do anything. I mean, scripters are still going to be scripters, and then Kog'Maw, outside of that, is still going to be relatively fine, so that's fine. These changes are completely fine. Master Yi. Well, much of Master Yi's strength comes from his synergy with 2 powerful items, Gunsu's Rain Blades and State of Devour. Well, Gunsu's never gets built on Korean Yis, but I don't know how he's being built in NA in Europe. His lack of downtime has always been a frustration. We're tuning Yeezy all-in window to reward using Highlander at the right time rather than whenever. Cooldown, 75 seconds to 85. That doesn't really matter. That can be worked around just by running CDR runes or whatever, and that really won't affect him nearly as much as having, just to change his runes around. Duration, 10 seconds to 7 seconds. That's really big, though. Extension on killer assist, 4 seconds to 7 seconds. Okay, so if he gets multi kills or assists, then he ends up running. I don't see how this really does anything to Yi. The first cooldown, like I said, that can be worked around just by tuning your runes. So I don't really. I think this is actually like a buff. Duration 10. Yeah, I think this is more so a buff than anything. Because if he kills someone, like if he ganks top lane or mid lane and he just gets 1 kill, it doesn't matter how long it extends for. So that doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I feel like this is a Yi buff rather than a nerf. Misfortune. W duration and cooldown up. Love tap no longer extends W's duration, but now reduces its cooldown. So attack speed duration 3 to 4 seconds. Cooldown 8 to 12 seconds. Applying love tap no longer extends the duration. Try your stuff. Cooldown now begins on cast when... Okay. While Shroud is on cooldown, applying love tap reduces... Oh, that's really nice. I don't think it's enough to make her come back into play, but that's certainly a nice little boost. The problem with Misfortune is her mobility inside of teamfights and how she has to be set up makes her so that she's a little bit reliant on the meta, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that sometimes you can't really use her unless other champions are able to be used as well. And what comes to mind was there was a very old meta. Some people might remember it. Curse of the Sad Bullet Time, the Amumu Misfortune dominating meta. That's what comes to mind. But that's whatever. Olaf, he's a champion you seldom see. Vicious Strikes, Lifesteal, up at early levels and up at later levels. That's really nice. Ragnarok, Passive Armor, that's really good. That might be enough to bring him actually back into play in some situations. So I think those buffs are pretty good. It's going to enable his sustain in either jungle or in top lane to be a little bit stronger. And the passive MR is going to be absolutely insane because it basically means that he gets like a mini, well, he almost gets a cloth armor for free, and he gets like a mini null magic mantle at early levels, and then later on, you know, it keeps getting better, so that's really good. Rumble. Q damage deals full damage to minions, R cooldown lowered. Once professional staple rumbled, struggle strength. Okay. Corrupting potion, growth. Okay. Q, Flame Spreader. Damage to minions 50% to 100%. That's really nice. R, the Equalizer. Cooldown lowered. I don't know if that's enough to make Rumble viable again, especially because he has some really rough matchups right now in top. And putting him inside of the jungle, especially with such a major change about to come to mid lane with the mage update, I'm not really sure how that's going to pan out. So I don't think these buffs are enough to make him viable again. And it looks like that's it for champions, so that's not so bad. So modifier updates, okay. Items. Iceborne Gauntlet. Spellblade. 100% base attack damage to... Oh, 125 base to 100. That's really big. And so this is an inadvertent hit to Echo, but it also hits a lot of champions. So I really like this nerf. I think this heads in the right direction. Because now it just basically means that this is not nearly as effective in terms of trading, especially in lane, and I wonder if there's some champions that can no longer just rush this as the first item, because it's going to compromise their trading. Scimitar, it is really gold efficient. Let's see, total gold cost, 3,700 to 3,600, so probably late game, like, or usually when you're going to be picking it up, that's about 4 minions. Combined cost, 625 to 525, attack damage, 75 to 65. I like that, but I don't think it's enough, and I know that that sounds really strange, but right now 80 carries themselves are a little bit tanky, and it's really weird. But again, with the mage update coming right around the corner, it's going to be interesting to see how all these items and how the meta is going to shift. But right now, mages are in a really bad spot come late game. A lot of mages that should be able to blow people up can't anymore, and they're still extremely vulnerable and squishy, and 80 carries with Maw and Scimitar are really durable, especially if they end up picking up Sturox. So it's a little weird. Corrupting Potion, giving less health but more mana. That's interesting, because there are some situations where the HP is really all that matters. So I think that'll be okay. But there are other situations where people want to use it that don't necessarily benefit entirely from the HP, but they benefit a lot more from the mana. So like someone that comes to mind is Tahm Kench. I also wonder if this actually buffs Echo's ability to trade a little bit, because he can end up starving himself with some early combos, but not so much in the HP department, but rather the mana department. So that comes to mind. Nautilus also comes to mind, given his shield. So I don't know if this is actually... Well, it's obviously... it's neutral. It's not necessarily a buff or a nerf, but some champions are going to benefit from it, and other ones are going to definitely get hurt by it. But yeah, champions that come to mind immediately are like Tahm Kench, Echo, Nautilus, for champions that either get hurt or buffed by it. So... Feast, cooldown 25 seconds to 30 seconds. I don't like that, because I feel like this is a very safe control mastery, and I think that nerfing it is just kind of bad, because it basically promotes fighting, but it promotes it in an unhealthy way given the other two options that are available, because you have the double-edged sword, and you have the exposed weakness. Okay, secret stash. So instant biscuit health 15, instant mana 15. Again, so this is sort of like the corrupting potion thing, where this is going to benefit some champions and it's going to hurt others. But like I feel like this helps Rise a lot, because he definitely gets biscuits, and this helps him a lot more. I mean, you can almost say that it's negligible, given that it's only 5 mana, but let's say that he has 3 of them, that turns into 15 mana, and that almost pays for, what, like 30% of one of his spell costs, or like 33%. That's kind of nice. Grasp of the Undying, health steal, 3% to 2.5% maximum health. I think that's okay. Spent time and you've seen him dying again. Echo joke somewhere in here. We have nothing against Tank Master being strong on tanks. Didn't they make it? So I thought it was so only combat against champions procced it, but I guess that didn't go through, or maybe I didn't read something correctly in 6.7. I don't think this is enough. I think that it should have just probably actually been 2% maximum HP. 0.5 maximum HP doesn't actually do enough against some targets. It does obviously do a lot against much bigger targets, like if you end up hitting a Nautilus or like a Mundo, or if you slam into a Tom Kench or you hit a Scion or something. But this is almost negligible. This nerf, I don't feel like it's enough. Although I guess if you proc it multiple times in the fight, it'll probably add up to like 250, 300 missing damage, depending on how extended the fight is, so that's not so bad. And then there's new bug fixes, but of course there's lots of bugs that Reddit knows about and yet goes unfixed. And I guess that's it. Doesn't seem like there's anything else.